if we can figure that out, what can we do with it to enhance our mental capabilities? When you look at the brain and all the parts of the brain, they don't seem to make any sense at all. The visual part of the brain is way in the back, for example. Why is the brain constructed the way it is? Is this nothing but an accident of evolution? Well, one way to look at it is through evolution. That is, the back of the brain is the so-called reptilian brain, the most ancient, primitive part of the brain that governs balance, territoriality, mating. And so the very back of the brain is also the kind of brain that you find in reptiles. Now, when I was a child, I would go to the science museum and look at the snakes sometimes, and they would stare back at me. And I would wonder, what are they thinking about? Well, I think now I know. What they're thinking about was, is this person lunch? Then we have the center part of the brain going forward, and that's the so-called monkey brain, the mammalian brain. The brain of emotions, the brain of social hierarchies. And then finally, the front of the brain is the human brain, especially the prefrontal cortex. This is where rational
Physicists have played a key role in this project, providing a whole host of new tools with acronyms with acronyms like MRI, EGG, PET, PETs, CATs, TCM, TS, and DBS, which have dramatically altered the way we study the brain. Suddenly, with these machines, we could see how thoughts that move through a living thinking brain, according to V.S. Ramachandran of the University of California at San Diego. All those questions that philosophers have studied for millennia, we scientists can begin to explore them at from brain images, studying the patient and asking the question, correct? Pre. If I remember, I see that in some of my first forays into the world of physics, I came across the same technologies that are now opening the mind to scientific exploration. When I was in high school, for example, I was aware of a new form of matter called antimatter, and I decided to carry out a scientific project to study it, as it is one of the most exotic substances of the earth. Exotic? I had to go to the Bold Atomic Energy Commission to get a minuscule amount of sodium 22, hmm, a substance that emits electrons. No way. Does that? Positive anti-electrons, positive trans, anti-electrons, or positive trans. That's what it's called. Anti-electrons or positive trans. Oh yeah, electrons are usually negative. Um, Positive electrons, positive naturally. Having at my disposal a small sample, I was able to build a cloud chamber and a powerful field magnetic field that allowed me to photograph the vapor trails left by the particles. I didn't know it at the time, but soon after, sodium 22 will be instrumental in a new technology called positron emission tomography, PET in English, positron emission tomography, which has allowed us to obtain data surprising about the function of the brain. Cool. Another technology I experimented with at the time was magnetic resonance. Magnetic. I attended a lecture by Felix Bloch of Stanford University, who shared the 1952 Nobel Prize in Physics with Edward Purcell for the discovery of nuclear magnetic resonance. Dr. Bloch explained to us high school kids who came to listen to him that if we had a powerful field magnetic field, the atom will line up vertically with it like a compass needle. And if we then applied a radio pulse to those atoms with a frequency that coincided exactly with the resonance, we could make them reverse. To the doing so, they will emit another pulse, like an echo, which will allow the identity of those atoms. I later used the principle of magnetic resonance to build a 2.3 million electron volts particle accelerator in the garage of the house.
Thinking is. And when you ask yourself a question, where am I anyway? The answer is right behind your forehead. That's where you really are. Well, I have a theory of consciousness which tries to wrap it all up together. There have been about 20,000 or so papers written about consciousness and no consensus. Never in the history of science have so many people devoted so much time to produce so little. Well, I'm a physicist, and when we physicists look at a mysterious object, the first thing we try to do is create a model of this object in space. And then we hit the play button and run it forward in time. This is how Newton was able to come up with the theory of gravity. This is how Einstein came up with relativity. So I tried to use this in terms of the human brain and evolution. So what I'm saying is I have a new theory of consciousness based on evolution. And that is, consciousness is the number of feedback loops required to create a model of your position in space with relationship to other organisms and finally in relationship to time. So think of the consciousness of a thermostat. I believe that even a lowly thermostat